want to thank our players for a really good camp. Love the way they competed. It was a really good camp. I thought it was physical. It was it was close in a lot of areas. So I just want to thank our players, thank our staff, thank our coaches, just all the work that went into it. With that, I'll take some questions.
What was the thinking at backup quarterback, bring in Malik instead of the two guys you had all camp?
Yeah, I think certainly there's some underwhelming performances, I think, at times. But at the same time, Malik is a guy that certainly he's in his third year, and he really has shown a lot of progression, particularly this preseason. And it was just an opportunity for us to add a guy that I think can not only make plays with his arm, but with his legs as well. And I'm excited to get him in the building, and see where that goes.
He seems like a much different player than Love. How much do you have to change? Would you have to change your offense if he has to play?
No, I don't think so. Not much at all. In fact, he's got some crossover in this offense anyway. And I think that was the one thing this preseason, as we track guys through their early stages of their career, the one thing that we saw, particularly with this new coaching staff in Tennessee, is just how much he had progressed within the offense, playing from the pocket and making plays that way. So, again, I mean, this will be new for him, and obviously the quarterback position, it'll take a little bit of time. But at the same time, just kind of really excited where his progression has taken him this far and where he'll go, particularly under our group.
Do you think he'll be able to get up to speed with the offense to be the number 2 by week 1? Or?
Yeah, I would think so. Yeah.
The kicking, you put a lot into the kicking stuff. Mm-hmm. How did you end up, where you are right now?
Yeah, I think just obviously, I think you guys know when we went into this, we rotated some kickers through here. I think we were the only team to have 3 for most of the training camp, and so we were looking a lot. We were monitoring the league, Brendan was a kid that we liked coming out, and then he had an excellent preseason there in Tennessee. So, as it unfolded and he was let go, we just thought it was an opportunity to get a really good young kicker and give him a shot at it.
Do you have the confidence to go with a totally new guys, or going to be some sort of competition there?
I mean, so I think obviously Narverson will be on the active, and then Alex Hale will be on the practice squad. So we'll have 2, but right now we're going to go with Braden.
Brian, when you were talking to Tennessee about Malik, were you talking to him about the kicker as well, or what? Like, it seemed weird the way it happened.
Yeah, there's conversations that go on, throughout camp from our, not only from me but from our pro scouts that are talking to these teams all the time. So there were some conversations, but ultimately it just kind of fell how it fell.
Brian, what was sort of your reaction to Aaron Mosby's finish to the preseason, and also him being able to make that jump on the 53 this year?
Yeah, really proud just at the way he's progressed. When we first got him, he's a little bit of a tweener. Is he an inside backer? Is he an outside backer in our old scheme? And then as we moved into this 4-3, we put his hand down and he really kind of took off. And you got to give him a lot of credit. He's put a lot of work into it. And really, not only as an edge rusher and his ability to rush a passer and do all the things that we're asking him to do on the defensive line, but in special teams as well. His ability to kind of play multiple spots there, and play it well. And then he produced. He just did a really nice job producing. He kept getting better each week, and was showing up in practice. It showed up in the games. Excited for what he was able to accomplish this camp.
As you know, there's a lot of unknowns with a rookie kicker. Mm-hmm. And how do you know about the mental makeup and how a guy will handle something like this situation?
Yeah, I don't know if you ever, for sure. I mean, I think certainly we scout that, and certainly he had a great preseason where he hit a 59-yarder and then a game winner at the end to handle that kind of pressure. So you're constantly monitoring that stuff, but until you get him in Lambeau Field and everything that brings, I'm not sure you ever know. I mean, I'm probably not as patient with specialists as I should be. I'm not. I mean, I give Ted a lot of credit. Certainly he was a much patient man than I was. But, I think Mason was under 80% until like his 5th year. And then that 6th year was my first year in the office in 2012. And I think he was 60-some%, and he missed like 12 kicks, and I can tell you right now that there was people in the office that were like, let's move on. And, so I probably need to be a little bit more patient. I mean, we had J.K. Scott in here. He's turned into a very good punter, but at the same time, I'm very confident in this team and what we can accomplish. So I want to make sure we give this team every opportunity to win. And so there's going to be a standard that we're going to try to reach.
So you used a draft pick on Carlson a year ago. What ultimately made you decide to turn the page on him, and how much did that last field goal, that last kick in the last preseason game factor into it?
Yeah, I think it was a culmination of the whole camp and everything. I think, you know, for me, and I think our group, as we went through it, it was just, you know, we were going to try to get better there, and whether that was Anders or that was somebody from outside, it didn't matter. But we needed to get better. We felt we needed to get better, and so you know that's kind of the reason why we made the decision. Kickers in this league, you know, some of them come out right away and they can handle it, and sometimes they got to bounce around a few times before they actually land. I think Anders is probably going to be one of those guys. You know, he's got a ton of talent. He actually had a pretty solid rookie year for us, but I just think at this time we were looking for a little bit better, and that's the direction we're heading in.
What did you learn about AJ's stinger that made you guys put him on that season-ending IR?
Yeah, I think that we're very, very cautious with head, necks, and hearts. Those around here, we always have been. Obviously he had the injury last year. Went through some things this year, and I won't get into the details of it, but it was just something that we weren't comfortable with at the moment. Hopefully that will change in time. Obviously, he won't be with us this year, but he's gonna need some time to get through this to see exactly how this will shake out. But I wish him the best for him. Obviously, he's a pro's pro, and it's a tough blow when these things happen. But hopefully, here in short time, he'll get some good news.
Ryan, you talked about how you're very confident in this team and want to give them every chance to win. When you have two high-profile battles that all eyes are on the kicker, back, and quarterback, and you end up going with someone from the outside, what message does that send to your team about turning over every rock and doing everything you can and being super competitive at every chance?
Yeah, I don't know. I think our guys want to win, and so when we bring in people from the outside, I think it's like anything else. If these guys see that they can help us win, they're going to be all for it. I don't know if it really sends any message, but I think the guys that have been here any length of time understand that's kind of how we do things, and they've gone through seasons where you see guys here every Tuesday and us turning the practice squad, and so I think it's kind of standard, operating procedure around here. So the guys that have been here will know it, and the guys that are new get up to speed pretty quick.
I don't know when the kicking battle that we watched all of offseason was before Saturday, but is Anders here if he makes a 32-yard field goal? Or does it be the last?
No, it doesn't come down to something that, certainly that matters, right? That certainly matters, but that wasn't something that, turned the page on it.
In hindsight, what do you think he missed there? Because he might be a good kicker one day, but he had his struggles.
I think it's like whenever you go into, particularly quarterback and kicker are always an interesting because of there's just only one guy out there, right? So it's always an interesting, the way those guys kind of go through this league. There's a lot of bouncing around with those guys sometimes before they land. So we certainly knew that was a possibility when we drafted Anders. I can't say enough about his work ethic. He's put in all the time. He's done everything we've asked him to do, and he's had some really good moments here. Again, I think it's no different than anything else. We're constantly looking at if there's an opportunity that we think we might have a chance to get better. Does it make sense to take that chance? And in this particular instance, I felt it was necessary.
So when you say take that chance, Goody, it is a risk, right? This is a guy you don't really know much about. So I would think in your position, the one thing you don't want to do is then have this not work out, and then you're trying other guys out all the time. Where do you go from here when you are where you are?
That's part of it, and I think that's just, it's not just here. It's in every, pretty much every building in the league. Guys got to produce. If they don't produce, it's going to be short. It's going to be a short leash, and so for me, it's just it's really no different than it ever has been. We're going to always kind of. We're working all year to kind of see if there's opportunities to make us better, and if there is, and we can, we're going to try to do that. If we're really excited to get Braden in here to see what he can do, and he's certainly got a lot of talent, and we're excited about that. And but at the end of the day, all these guys that made this team, they got to produce. That's part of the National Football League. And I really like our group. I really like the way they work. I like the way that they're working together and connecting. Again, we got a long ways to go, but I like this group, and I'm excited to add the guys that we added over the last few days.
Well, where do games fit into the evaluation process at this point? You know, like, you obviously drafted 2 linebackers, so it's gonna be tough for Christian, but it would seem like Welch did absolutely everything he could have to make this team and still didn't. So how do you kind of view the game component at this point in the NFL?
Yeah, it's the most important part, right? I mean, that's what it is. I think, you know, Christian, along with a few others, absolutely did everything and deserved to make this football team. We had more than 53, in my opinion, that deserved to make this football team, and deserved to make a 53 roster. That's a great problem. It's very difficult. It's very difficult to look people in the eye that you know that have produced and played well enough to make your team and have to move on. That's really, really hard. I'm glad some of our guys got opportunities, and Christian as well, because I think they deserve it and they've earned it. But that's very, very difficult.
Ryan, can you talk about the process with the wide receivers and kind of that decision with Bo and with Malik making the cut and then Grant not, and kind of just what it all came down to?
Yeah, again, another really, really, you know, that was a great competition throughout the entire camp with those guys. They all had their moments, you know, and at some point, you know, you're debating a lot of things. You know, do you keep 6? Do you keep 7? How does it look? Offense, defense, special teams, all those things go into it. And again, really happy for Grant that he's going to get an opportunity here. But I just think at the end of the day, you know, some of the things that Malik and Bo did just made more sense for us at this time. At the same time, if we would have kept Grant, again, he earned it. He deserves to be somewhere. And I'm glad he's getting the opportunity in Miami.
How much of that was special teams?
Yeah, it's definitely part of it. I mean, well, first of all, you know, the thing I love about Malik is obviously all those guys are excellent. I mean, they do the grinding, the dirty work, you know, the blocking. They're all willing to do that. They're tough as nails. Malik's got a very unique ability to make plays when it matters. You know, when the ball's in the air, it's kind of his. He has a great ability to go attack the football, make tough catches. You know, he's been a playmaker from college to the moment he got here, and I think he's just a very reliable player when it matters.
Either Carlson or Joseph, did you present them with an opportunity to come back on the practice squad, or is that not on the table at this point?
Not at this moment, but both of those guys I would have no hesitation bringing back here if I thought that was the right thing to do.
You had a few guys claimed, when you were going through those final roster decisions, were you thinking there was a pretty good likelihood this year that maybe you weren't going to have the opportunity to get some of these guys in the practice squad like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, there's always less guys claimed than you think, you know. Certainly I thought with the preseasons that Anthony had, that Christian had, that Grant had, you know, I thought, you know, they played really well in the preseason, and they're not rookie players. So, you know, there's a little bit more tape and a little bit more information on those guys. That they would have a chance to get claimed, along with, you know, Royce as well. You know, he's got a lot of tape in this league. You know, veteran offensive lineman that can play multiple spots are hard to find. So, and Royce is one of those guys. So, you always kind of think that those were the kind of the guys we thought would have an opportunity to get claimed and picked up. But you were always hopeful that you were able to get them back and recruit them to your practice squad.
With your job, there's like 10 poll days and weeks, like the draft, you accumulate a lot of talent. This week you have to make some tough decisions. What's that like to have both ends of that spectrum? Then what's next week like for you when you see the team take the field for the first time in a game?
Yeah, I think, you know, we always talk about that first practice once you have everything set. Is a nice day to get out there and see your team and get beyond this, because this is a really tough, you know, 3-4 days for everybody involved. It's not easy to go through this process and make these decisions, but more importantly, you got a lot of young men in there that have put a ton of work into this, and to kind of have to, you know, tell them you don't want to move on, but just by rules you have to, and so it's really tough. So it's good to get down the other side of it. At the same time, I mean, nothing really stops. You know, I mean, in a few hours here, we're going to get another transaction of a bunch of guys that are now released because of the claims, you know, and we're going to go through that. We're going to, you know, evaluate that and see if anything that, you know, any of those guys can possibly help us, you know. So, you know, there's roughly 1,000 guys put on the market, you know, over the last day. So, you know, we're going through that. We'll, like we always do, we'll have a ton of workouts here in the first 3 to 4 weeks of the season. And as you guys know, our roster will change between now and October, November, December.
You got 5 practice squad spots for him. Is that going to be from that group, or do you have more resignings coming, you think?
Yeah, we have a few guys coming in that we've kind of agreed to, and then there's a couple, decisions we're still kind of waiting on. Hopefully by tomorrow's practice, we'll be full, but we'll see.
You're a draft and develop team. You've had a lot of grace with young players throughout your time here. With Michael Pratt, obviously you decided to move on rather quickly. What kind of gave you the conviction that, it just wasn't going to work here in Green Bay?
I did never had that conviction. I think it very much well could have worked here in Green Bay. I think the opportunity to get Malik in here and then having to kind of make a decision. I think certainly we could have thought about having 4 quarterbacks on the roster, but I think that's really hard to get reps and develop. I think that's very tough. I think Michael's got a bright future in this league, and I would have no hesitation in bringing him back. I think really it was the opportunity to acquire Malik that just kind of forced our hand there.
How did that come together? I'm curious about just the process of that trade, and then when you talk about having more than 53, did you have some conversations about trades going the other way with some of the guys?
Yeah, all those conversations. Those conversations start, actually prior to training camp starting, and our guys do a great job of kind of setting the table for me as far as what might be available out there as we go. So we're watching that each week, and we're watching all the tape and kind of seeing and predicting what might be available, and so those conversations are being had between pro scouts and different people throughout. Certainly Malik is a guy going into his in his 3rd year, and he was kind of running in 3rd string for them, so you're just wondering how that was going to shake out, and through conversations it just became that he was going to be available, and I think it took about 24 hours, and then that deal was done. So.
Moment in that process when he flashes something in the preseason? You mentioned his growth, but you're like, oh, this is different. He's taking a step here. He could help it. And what was that?
Yeah, I think he's always shown the traits. He's a really good athlete, very strong athlete, strong arm, able to make all the throws. He came from Liberty. I think in a little bit, they're obviously 2 different guys, but a little bit like Jordan, when you're a very young kid coming from a smaller level of competition. You saw the flashes early on in his preseason work, but then I thought this year, particularly, and there was a coaching staff change as well to a little bit of a new system. But the way his patience and the way he was going through his progressions and ability to play from the pocket, when to run, when not to run, those kind of things, I thought progressed. Again, it's a short sample size in the preseason, but I thought he did a nice job, and I think his ability to win with his arm and his legs was something that attracted us to him, and so that's kind of how that unfolded.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys.
short amount of time, Willis can be ready, be number 2, right?
We will see. I don't know. We'll see how it goes today, and I know he's a pretty smart guy. We've had an opportunity to meet with him, and it's not like you're getting a rookie in here. He does have, obviously, a foundation, and it's just, translating what he's learned in the past and, putting it into our terms, and then coaching him on the run. So there's a lot of work to be done between now and when we have to play our game, but we'll see where he is at that moment and make the best decision for our football team.
I know you brought in guys like almost every week that have to learn on the fly. How do you get a kicker up to speed quickly?
That's not a question for me. I don't have to worry about that. Kick the ball.
No,
I think. Oh, I thought you said kicker.
Well, maybe I did. I'm writing about kickers before you came in.
Did he not say kicker? Okay, I was like, kick it? Yeah. The QB, it's definitely a little bit more of a challenge than a kicker. Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, again, we're throwing a lot at him today. We'll see how he responds, but he's a very intelligent guy. The one thing I'll tell you is, just in talking with him, there was some similarities with what he first learned when he got in the league, when Todd Downing was the OC there in Tennessee, because the offense went from myself to Arthur Smith to Todd Downing. So there was a little bit of crossover there in terms of some of the terminology and some of the things that they were asking him to do. And it's just, he's going to have to, reframe it in terms of a lot of these teams are doing a lot of similar things. You just might call it something different. So it's like learning a new language.
Is that the same with Callahan? Because he came from Zach's
I thought it would be more similar. It doesn't sound like it's really that way. Obviously Zach and I worked together in LA with Sean, and then Callahan working with Zach the last, 5 years in Cincinnati, and but it doesn't sound like it sounds like it's a little bit different.
If for whatever reason, like he's just not ready, do you have any hesitation with going with Sean and elevating him for that role in Brazil?
Come on. We got people walking in here late. Now we got alarms going off. What are we doing? I know, we should. Can you do 20 push-ups? Okay. Yeah, what was the question?
Having Sean back in the practice squad, is that an option for?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I think we have confidence in him. I told Sean, I think we've seen him play better than all the things we saw throughout the course of the off season, I would say, from training camp and in those preseason games. He's just got to get back to really the core fundamentals that allow you to play the game fast, and reading with your feet is one of those. But we certainly still have a lot of confidence in Sean, and it's just the circumstance we're in right now.
Matt, I know Bill asked about the kicker. What exactly is the transition process there? You had 5 different guys come through here in camp, and you didn't
Not a question for me. That is a question for Rich Bisaccia.
Is a razor-thin difference between winning and
Oh,
losing.
I'm well aware of this. This is uncharted territory, I would say, that I've been in my time in the league. So it's just, you just got to come in and perform. I don't know how else to put it, but it's definitely a unique situation.
Do you think it could affect your play calling in week 1 and going for it on 4th down?
Absolutely, 100%. Yeah, I think you got to take into account all the circumstances. No different though, like when you go out and there's inclement weather, and sometimes that affects some of the decision making you make. And we'll see. We'll get a couple days with him to kind of get a feel for him as he performs. What's hard is you just don't have any game experience with him. But he did a nice job in Tennessee. I know that.
Is the uncharted territory having 2 rookies, or are you talking about bringing a guy in this late to do it?
What are you talking about?
kickers? You said it was
Oh,
chartered.
no, I'm just saying in terms of bringing the guy in right when we're bringing him in. But, I've been on teams in the past where we've cycled through a lot of guys, and that's never a fun position to be in. So hopefully he'll come in, do a great job, and we'll be off and running.
Where do you think you are I know it's the first week, so I'm not asking about Marshawn's health status, but how challenging is kind of the running back puzzle right now with AJ's thing being enough to shut him down for the year, and where do you kind of feel like you're at in terms of your options there?
Yeah, it's another tough question. You inadvertently didn't ask about his status, so we'll see where he's at. I don't know. We haven't practiced in a few days. We'll get him out there today, see where he's at, let him run around. I think, you feel like he can handle most playbook. It's not like he hasn't been learning. It's just, the application of taking it from the classroom and applying it in a real game setting is, you wish you had a little bit more exposure.
You had spoken early in training camp about how good AJ looked. Just how discouraging is that just to see him work as hard as he did in the offseason and then for it to kind of...
Yeah, it's really discouraging because we had a pretty clear vision for what he could do, and it wasn't just going to be as a runner. I thought the versatility was what I was most excited about, just being able to kind of do a lot of different things in regards to some of the stuff that we did a year ago with him when we had some of our 2 halfback sets. So it certainly leaves us with a void, but I mean, that's life in the National Football League. You got to adapt or you die. So we better adapt.
Now, what does it say about the depth of the wide receiver room that Grant, the 7th wide receiver, gets picked up by Anderson?
Well, yeah, I'm super fired up for Grant, and that obviously it was a blessing and a curse to have so many tough decisions. But it's great to see 4 of these guys, getting opportunities elsewhere. I don't feel like I've ever been a part of a team that's. Jesus Christ, I shouldn't say that. What's getting into you guys today, man? Come on, Wallers. You're running a tighter ship around here. Yeah. Anyways, but it's really great. It's a credit to Grant, too, just to see where he's come from, the circumstances he was dealt a year ago in regards to coming in here, having to have, surgery, battling through with limited reps. I know a year ago at this time he wasn't happy that he was on the P squad, but a lot of times you're dealt or handed circumstances that you're not always happy with, and it's how you respond to them. And I thought, especially as the year went along, his just attention to detail, his work ethic, everything really, he was busting his butt in practice, and I think he saw the benefits of that. And to go out there and, I thought he's a really tough, gritty guy, and, we're certainly going to miss him, but I'm happy for him to be able to get an opportunity elsewhere.
And then on the other side of that, how special is a day like this, like with Malik? He mentioned Braves, I think, was the one that told him that he made the team. Bo, guys like that have been able to kind of work their way up and get this opportunity now.
Yeah, it's always exciting when you can get to call somebody and let them know that they made it. But you can't take it for granted either. And with this league, it's what have you done for me lately? And you got to continue to work and grind and keep your spot. It's a competitive situation always. Some positions are a little bit more competitive than others, just in terms of who we have on our roster. But these guys got to understand, whether you're on the active roster or whether you're on the practice squad, anymore, the way we view it, it's a 70-man roster with the ability to call people up. So you got to get yourself prepared to play each and every week, and you better be getting better throughout the course of the season. And go ahead.
I apologize. Speaking of the 70-man roster, though, if Marshawn's not quite ready week 1, physically or mentally, whatever it is, what do you think of McCreary and Merriweather?
Yeah, I think both those guys showed well in the preseason game, or throughout the course of the preseasons. Obviously, McCreary wasn't here quite as long, but we were familiar with him in regards to having him on the team last year. And then I thought Ellis ran really hard. I thought all those guys ran extremely hard in that final preseason game and put some good stuff out there for everybody to see.
Going back to Willis, I don't know how familiar you are with his skill set yet. Maybe this is something you have to determine, but if you do need him for a game sometime during the regular season, can you run the same stuff? I mean, is the offense the same that you would have for Jordan?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it really comes down to how much can he handle, and I don't think we're really going to know that until we spend a few days together. And just I do think it's a little bit easier when you're talking about getting prepared for a game, because I mean you really pare down the playbook quite a bit in regards to the focus of what you're trying to get accomplished. So we'll see how he picks it up, and I think that will determine, how much we can throw at him.
Based on preseason performance, was Welch one of your toughest to have to face and tell him that he didn't make the team?
Yeah, it was tough. I mean, he did everything that he could have possibly done, and he was making plays. It showed up in every game, and I thought he got better throughout the course going into OTAs. From where he started to where he is now, he is a much better football player. Certainly he's made his mark in this league on teams, and I'm sure he'll continue to do that for a long time to come. But I thought he really showed his ability to go in there and play on the defense side of the ball. That gave us a lot of confidence. He's a very smart guy, very tough, competitive, everything that you want from a football player, in particular in that position, a really good communicator. So, again, it's tough. I selfishly love to have him a part of our team, but I'm happy for him to get another opportunity in Baltimore.
What's the practice plan going forward into next week?
So we will practice today and tomorrow. Today is, I would say, a little bit of a lighter day, being the fact that we had 3 days off for the guys, and some of those guys that didn't play in the game, so that's really 4 days. And then tomorrow we're going to amp it up and practice under the lights and kind of try to mimic what it's going to feel like to play in Brazil in regards to just the time of waking up early in the morning, having some meetings, and then letting them get out of here for a little bit, and then having practice. But we still got to operate within the training camp window in regards to the time component.
Normal Wednesday workout as well.
Yeah, so then basically we're going to treat tomorrow as if it were a Sunday. The following day will be Monday, and then Tuesday will be the players' day off, and kind of get into the normal flow of a week.
That under the lights, will you do it in here or across the street?
Here. Yep.
Amen.
Some people are not very happy about that either. Alan Johnson.
Hey, Matt, where do you think your depth is on the offensive line? You kept 10, the 5 guys that aren't the starters. You got, 3 rookies, Kadeem, and then Dillard. Like, where do you kind of feel like you are if you get some challenges at that position?
Yeah, I think, obviously I think that we got a lot of people that we are confident in that can go out there and play, and we got to keep developing them. And so as far as the depth, I think you find out when they have to go in the game to see really where you're at. Certainly with some of the guys like Jordan Morgan just not being available the last couple of weeks, that's kind of hurt us, I would say. It's hurt him, and it's hurt our football team, so it'll be good to get him back out there.
Matt, you obviously know, or at least have a pretty good idea what this defense is capable of, but you didn't show a lot in either of the joint practices. Is that fair to say? Are you kind of excited?
Maybe, maybe not. We'll all find out week 1.
Are you kind of excited to unleash what maybe Jeff has, some of his creativity and some of his ideas now that you have kind of held back, obviously?
Yeah, I'm certainly excited. I think just the vibe we have around here right now, and I'm sure all 32 teams are excited to get going. But I do think that I've been really excited about our whole defensive staff. I think they're They've got a great rapport with our guys. I think they're excellent teachers, and I think we got some talented guys on that side of the ball. So I'm just excited to see how everything comes together and how we perform, not only week 1, but throughout the course of the season.
Thank you, guys.
All right, we'll see you all.